Cool.
Sorry, Grant.
You've run away.
Sorry, hello.
That's all right. Welcome, everyone. We are live, so that's good. It's all working all right, and you've come back, so that's the main.
There was a small issue that went past my door.
No worries. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's what I call Lunch and Learn. So if you're watching on live on Facebook, then feel free to give us a like and ask any questions. And if you're listening back on the podcast, then yeah, like again, give us a like, subscribe to the podcast, and feel free to ask Kate or email any questions over to us. So today we are joined by Kate, and Kate is the apprenticeship manager at Northern Education and Training. So welcome, Kate. Thanks for stepping up.
Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good. You've had a bit of a hectic morning. You were told this morning that you'd be taking part in this this live. So
I did. You're gonna have to be gentle with me. It's my first one, so I'm gonna jump in and do the best I can. But yeah, definitely my first try at this today.
Excellent. Don't worry, it's just a chat. We're just going to ask some questions and talk about apprenticeships. And as being the manager, you're going to be all over it.
Yes. Well, we'll see how we go.
So I scheduled this talk with Northern Education and Training. So for anyone who's joined my group and don't quite know who Northern Education and Training are, then maybe let us know. Tell us a little bit about Northern Education and Training, what they do.
Yes, so we are a training and apprenticeship provider. We specialise in level 2 in dog grooming and in animal care. So we offer apprentices 12 month or 12 to 14 month apprenticeships, wherein learners learn the skills and the theoretical knowledge that they need in order to become successful in their careers as dog groomers or as animal care assistants. So they learn quite a lot of different skills actually throughout the whole course. So yeah.
Cool. And the title's Northern Education and Training, but yeah, you're up north, we can tell by your accent, but you cover the whole of the UK.
We do indeed. We cover literally from one end of England to the other. So yeah, we cover the whole country of England. So
and I always get a bit confused because when you say UK, sometimes I don't know if that excludes Wales and Scotland, or I can never get that right.
Unfortunately, at the minute, we can't offer apprenticeships in Wales and Scotland. At the moment, we are working on it. It's coming. But right now, we can only offer them in England. But at any point or region in England, we can offer them.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm rubbish with my geography and how you're supposed to term things, and I always upset people. So, right. So, tell us about your role as the apprenticeship manager. What do you do within Northern Education Training, and when would people speak to you?
Most of the employers usually come through me these days. So I'm relatively new to the role here at Northern Education and Training. So I am the apprenticeship manager. So all of the enrolment, EPA, endpoint assessments, so all the learners' examinations, they come through me. Any sort of day-to-day queries that the employers have. So we give our apprentices designated assessors. So those assessors deal with the students, and they deal with sort of the learners' progress. They deal with the reviews that the learners have. So learners have reviews with their employers every 4 weeks. So their first point of call is usually the assessors. But if there are any other issues, or if there are any sort of questions or queries that the employers have, they come to me. So I sort of, the day-to-day updating communication with the employers is with me.
Okay, cool. So let's start off with just breaking down some facts and figures for people who are thinking about taking on an apprentice. So let's start with the age range for an apprentice.
Okay, well, you can be any age to be an apprentice. There are particular rules around 16 to 18-year-old apprentices. So those younger apprentices, they come with an incentive from the government. So employers will receive £1,000 paid into £500 payments One at the beginning, well, 90 days after the beginning of the apprenticeship, and one 90 days after the end of the apprenticeship. And that goes directly to the employers. It's to help with costs like uniform, equipment, things like that.
Okay.
Learners that are over 18, so 19 onwards, as I say, you can be any age, you can be, in your 30s. We've had some learners in their 30s, but those apprentices do not qualify for the incentive payment. And there is a £250 levy that comes from the government, that has to be paid by the employer to the government, because the government do not fund 100% of adult education. So anyone over the age of 19, you as the employer would have to pay a £250 contribution. That does not occur in 16 to 18.
Okay, and so as an employer, you take on a person who's interested in apprenticeship, and you employ them as like any other employee. You put your contracts in place, your payroll in place, and the employer is responsible for paying the apprentice their monthly wage. I think we have to make that clear, don't we?
Yes, very much so. So your contract of employment is with the apprentice. That we don't have a contract with the apprentice. So the contract is between yourself and the apprentice directly, and how you sort of coordinate that contract is entirely up to you as an employer. We don't dictate employment terms or anything like that.
And then something that some people get confused about is you're as an employer, you're asked to reserve like a £5,000 grant or money from the government, and some employers get confused around this, but that money goes to the provider, like yourself, Northern Education and Training, to pay for the training of the apprentice.
Exactly, yes. So the 5,000 does cause some confusion. The employer is asked to register the apprentice on a DAS account, so basically to make it a legitimate apprenticeship, one that is registered with the National Apprenticeship Service, and in order to pay for that, the employer has to choose their training provider and then request the £5,000 funding. That funding pays for the training. It doesn't go to the employer directly. It comes to us.
Okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up, because I think that's really important to get, knowledge is power, isn't it? So, so what kind of hours can apprentices do? So normally we break it down into full-time and part-time. Can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, so a full-time apprentice would do 30 hours a week. Obviously, if the business had need for the apprentice to do more, they can contract that in the same way that you would any other overtime requirements for your employee. But the contract is 30 hours a week, and then obviously for a part-time student, the minimum would be 15 hours a week.
Okay, and how does that affect the apprenticeship? So
if it was 15 hours a week, the apprenticeship would run over a 2-year, 18-month period, 2.5-year period. So the practical period would go to 2 years. So from start to endpoint assessment would be about 2.5 years-ish, as opposed to the sort of 14 to 18 months that we have in the standard one.
Yeah, okay. So you gotta think about this as an employer. You got to think quite right. Think about, one of the benefits of hiring an apprentice is you get access to the apprentice minimum wage, which is £5.28, I believe. So the trade-off, some people might say, well, why would I want an apprentice in my business? And for me, some of the trade-off is the fact that you are allowed to pay someone a lower wage in return for training them. But you've got to think about the hours. Maybe if you're paying them a lower wage, perhaps you can have them full-time in your business rather than putting them on a part-time apprenticeship.
Yes, exactly. So for some businesses, it works really well to have part-time apprentices, and for others, full-time is the better choice. So I think that's one of the things that is absolutely a consideration when taking on an apprentice, and which way works best for your business and for your apprentice, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, run those numbers. So,
yeah.
So when we'll talk about the dog grooming apprentice in a bit, but when we've hired apprentices in the past, and we've done it over many years, we often get a lot of applications from people that are just finishing college courses. But you've got to be aware of the apprentices, the potential apprentices' skills, haven't you? If someone's coming into your business already trained or already got the skills that you'd cover on the apprenticeship, then the government aren't going to pay for that training again, are they?
It depends on the qualification that the apprentice has sat previously. So it's not a straight no. It would depend on the skill set, whether the apprentice completed the qualification, because a lot of students begin things and then realise it's not for them and switch to something else. So they may not have actually completed it. So it would depend on the level, the length of time they spent on the qualification, and what exactly it is that they studied, so what units they studied. Sometimes that can just mean that they can still do the apprenticeship. A lot of the time, actually, they can still do the apprenticeship. It just would mean a funding adjustment or reduction in the 5,000 that you mentioned earlier. But for a lot of students, it is still possible, even if they've had prior learning.
So if I was advertising as a business and looking for a level 2 dog grooming apprentice, and someone came to me who's just finished a college course and they've completed their level 2 animal care, would that be a barrier, or would there be an adjustment?
It would be an adjustment. There would be adjustment. So obviously they're similar. They're not the same, but they're similar qualifications. So wherever there's crossover, there would be reduction. So, but we do have students that have completed animal care courses and have gone on to take the dog grooming apprenticeship. As I say, that just needs an adjustment in the funding for that particular apprentice, but doesn't really impact the apprentice or their progression. To be honest, it doesn't. They still progress and move as any of the other apprentices would do.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, now we cannot discriminate, can we, when we're going out looking for people? We cannot set age ranges on our adverts or anything like that. You know, however, at the moment, GCSEs are just finishing, school terms are just finishing. Now could be a time to look for an apprentice. If you were to get someone apply for an apprenticeship with you, and say the GCSE results have just come out and they've failed their maths and English, does that exclude them from an apprenticeship?
Not at all, not at all. So again, we have quite a good number of students that have not achieved the minimum grade 4 at school. What that means is that those particular learners would come to us and study functional skills. Now, depending on the previous grade of that learner, so for example, if they got a grade 1 at GCSE in maths, that's the lowest grade you can get. So they would have to sit level 1 and 2 functional skills with us, which obviously will take longer, more time, more intensive teaching. If a student scored a grade 3 at GCSE maths, which is higher, they would only have to attempt study and achieve the exam at level 2. So there's still a requirement to come to functional skills lessons and sit the exams, but not as big if the student scored low. So it also depends on, yes, they might have achieved a grade 4, but what grade did they achieve? And that will then dictate the amount of functional skills required.
And this is a government requirement, isn't it? The government basically want people to have a set minimum of skill level, and we've certainly put people through apprenticeships ourselves as a business, and they've gone and done their functional skills, and they've achieved the pass that they needed to. So it's not a barrier to employment at all.
Absolutely not, no. I think maybe from an employer's perspective, when we're thinking about you know, if you were thinking about taking an apprentice on, it's definitely something to be mindful of, because obviously it does take some time away from that time that apprentice might spend in the salon or grooming or whatever they might be doing. It's certainly a consideration, but it's not a barrier, not in any way at all, no.
And as an apprenticeship provider yourselves, I think when one of our members of staff went through it, she sat and did lessons on a Monday morning with yourselves, and you did all that virtually. So I think you said earlier you'd have to come in and do that, but if you're not local to where you're based, and it's all done virtually, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So obviously some local students, if they're on the doorstep, they come in for the live lessons. For the students that live further away, of which there are plenty, we do the lessons still run in exactly the same way, but we do them on Teams. So they're all done remotely, just to try and be as flexible as we possibly can, really.
Yeah, cool. So hopefully that's given people a little bit of an idea around apprenticeships and some of the things they need to think of when looking at employing an apprentice. It's been, well, I thought the level 2 dog grooming apprenticeship's been out for less time, but you corrected me and said September 2021 the new apprenticeships come out.
Yes. So we've had, I think we're up to our magic 20 of learners that will just achieve EPA. So they've done their minimum 12 months, and they are now sort of coming to, well, they've passed and achieved really well. So yeah, September 2021, the first cohort of dog groomers went through. So yeah, they're long finished now.
So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the level 2 dog grooming apprenticeship and what they may be asked to do, what they're looking to achieve through it, what's the syllabus look like, and how, as a business, how does NEAT support the employer and the apprentice during it?
Okay, so the apprentice is required to study a portfolio. So I suppose coursework, if you are of a certain age. So yeah, coursework essentially. So that again is done remotely, and obviously the learner is required to submit that work remotely. They're given a dedicated assessor. So that work, when your apprentice submits their work and their tasks, that will go directly to their individual assessor, who will mark it and give feedback. There are 8 units on the dog grooming programme. Some are larger than others. So the bigger units are towards the end of the apprenticeship, because the apprentice should be a little bit more capable or a little bit more knowledgeable by the time they get to the end. Some of the smaller ones, first aid, those sorts of things, happen early in the apprenticeship. So we do really think about the order in which we put our topics. So there's 8 altogether, and there are some practical elements as well. So that the apprentice would have to film themselves conducting certain tasks around the salon. For example, storage of equipment, clipping nails, those sorts of things. Short clips, they don't have to be long, but they form a portfolio, which at the end is then submitted to EPA or the exam board. So that goes to the EPA assessment board. We use Lantra or we use iPad. So we've got a couple at the moment that we use. We give options, and then they're submitted to the EPA board. They approve it. And then we look at the assessment process, then learners go into assessment.
So there's going to be an element of coursework, like you said, written work, which is done through an e-portfolio, electronic portfolio. And how do students and employers evidence the work that they're doing?
So usually it's written work, or it's photos, or it would be through short videos, short video clips, all of which can be uploaded. Progress is monitored in 4 weekly reviews. So we offer updates every 4 weeks with the employer and the apprentice, again, done via Teams, where we go over the learner's progress, what they need to do, what they're missing, what they're really excelling at, whatever it is that the learner might need at that time. If you've got a learner that's struggling, because some apprentices do struggle, particularly with they're used to a traditional school environment, and then they have to learn on just a computer. That can be a challenge for a lot of learners. So we do interventions and additional support for any learner that might be struggling. So that could mean they go on fortnightly interventions, weekly interventions, depending on the level of need or how much the learner's struggling, really.
So I suppose as an employee, you need to have access to a laptop or a computer. I know when we took our apprentice on, she had internet access at home but didn't have a laptop, so we went out and purchased a second-hand laptop from eBay and gifted it to her so that she could complete her portfolio and stuff at home, although it might be frowned upon completing some work at home, but she could access her portfolio from wherever she was.
Yes. Some apprentices do it from their phones, but to be honest, it's it is a struggle to do that. Just certain videos and the written work maybe isn't to as high of a standard as we would like. If it's been done on a phone, it just types differently, autocorrect, things like that. So we would suggest a laptop or a computer or access to stable Wi-Fi as well would be probably the only things that you do actually really need.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've all got phones around us during work hours. It might be against company policy to use your phone, but I suppose, you know, if you're taking evidence, so it might be that your apprentice is seeing a dog in from a customer, and it's just a case of grabbing that, like a little video of them doing that to cover one of the modules or one of the points in the portfolio.
And the assessors will give guidance, you know, on what's needed. You know, I need to see you doing this, this, and this week. And no, they certainly don't have to be anything extravagant or anything you know that's hugely time consuming. It can literally just be, like you say, grabbing your phone. This is my name. This is what I'm studying. This is what I'm going to achieve today. You know, prop the phone up on a side, or just have somebody else do it for you. Yeah, they only have to be a couple of minutes. We do try and meet the employer's needs and not make it, you know, hugely time consuming the salon. You know?
Well, that's it. It's a busy salon, isn't it? Busy environment, and I suppose it's a different way of thinking. Like it's thinking about opportunities. So looking at the work that's coming in and going, right, I've not done I need to grab a nail trim, or I've got a nail trim coming in at 3 o'clock. So let's see if we can teach you how to do that and get some evidence. So I suppose it's just looking at those opportunities in your diary and saying, right, what can we get out of this every opportunity?
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, it's one of those things, if we sort of let them build up, they can become quite overwhelming. But if you, like you say, pre-plan and look at your diary and know what's coming and what's expected, I think it's easier to stay on top of them if it's sort of little and often. The impact should be minimal on your business, whereas obviously if you've got 10 to do all in one go, that's much more of a significant impact than filming a 2-minute video during an appointment that you had anyway, you know. So yeah, about managing and preempting as much as possible. We do try and outline very, very clearly what's expected for the month, so everybody and the learners get targets and things, so they should know, and the employers should know exactly what is expected in the month. So there's at least a month's worth of planning that you could undertake for those things.
So we're taking on someone who potentially some of the apprentices that I know, you know, they've come into dog grooming, and this is the first time that they've actually worked in the animal industry. So fresh pair of eyes. You know, what are we looking to take them from sort of very beginner, and what sort of stages will they be going through? What are they expected to achieve by the end of their apprenticeships?
Okay, so the EPA assessment is requires probably a little bit more than maybe you might first think it does, actually. So the EPA assessment comes up with 3 separate elements. So the first one is an online examination, a traditional exam, but it'll be sat on the laptop that they've been doing their portfolios on. So something they have to revise for and then pass. Then there is a site visit. Now that's normally about half a day. Quite an intensive exam. You don't normally have exams for that long at school, during which the apprentice would need to show customer interaction, a groom plan. They would need to show full end-to-end groom, including bathing and drying, and a full end-of-day clean after the groom. And they get 2.5 hours to do all of that. So from the moment the dog walks through the door till the moment it leaves is 2.5 hours. So there's quite a lot to be done. And then immediately after that, on the same day while the assessor's on site, there's a 45-minute interview, which is a traditional interview with interview style questions based on their portfolio and the knowledge that they already have. So there's quite a lot, I think.
Yeah, is there any sort of any breed recommendations? You know, are you looking for, you know, up to a cockapoo or a wool breed, or can they just choose? I mean, I would choose a Labrador. you know, you probably argue you can't groom a Labrador. I might argue, well, you can brush it out. But is there like a standard that they have to achieve? Like, does it have to be a style, a cut and a style, and a finish, or?
No. So basically, in terms of choosing of animal, there are certain coat types that they have to have. So I think wire and silky, but they're not expected whatever animal they want, really. They do have to have a groom plan, so whatever sort of cut or style or finish or blade that they need, as long as it meets the groom plan that they've agreed with the customer, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We do say, choose a dog that will dry quickly, because you've only got 2.5 hours, and choose a dog that is going to let you do whatever it is that you need to do quickly. So compliant animal would be best, I think.
Yeah, and you know, this is completely, you know, for the apprentice and for the employer, this is where they need to sit down and plan this quite well, reach out to customers that they are, you know, friendly customers, dogs that can be worked well with, you know, maybe come in every 6 to 8 weeks. So if they are doing a specific clip, they're gonna see roughly the outlines that they need to follow and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of planning, isn't there, involved in that final clip? Absolutely.
It should be a dog that they've groomed before, so it should never be a brand new animal to them anyway. But yeah, so it's preferably one that they do on a regular basis, one that they know isn't going to, you know, be full of fleas or matted or anything like that. So one that's going to make that process of EPA as easy and straightforward as possible. They've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Using an animal carefully is so very important to making that process easier, really. We don't need to make it any harder than it already is.
No, I mean, you could say it's an exam, but I think that stress people out. But I think it's more of a demonstration, isn't it, of their experience and knowledge, although albeit a time limit demonstration, but you're showing off what you've learned with whilst you're at your salon and what you can do. So it's a better way of looking at it, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we say to our students, we do lots of revision, lots of practice with our students before they go to EPA, and we say to them, this is a celebration of everything that you've learned over the last 12 months. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's a showcase. It's showing how far you've come and showing that to somebody else. It's a positive thing, although nerve-wracking. It's a positive thing. We try and make it a positive thing anyway.
So that's you know, the portfolio is done online, but that's actually someone coming into the salon and watching them and marking them.
Yes. So the first element, the knowledge test, that's done online. But there is an actual assessor. Yeah, it's normally about half a day. So if the appointment started at 9, we would normally ask for sort of between 12 and 1 to say it finished. So it's a good solid half day's worth of assessment or showcase, if you want. Yeah.
Now, a question that's popped up in my head, and I'm going to step away from the controversial issue of qualified, not qualified. But what if some employers might not have a physical qualification in pet grooming, but they may have years and years of experience? I'm wondering if they might find this a bit intimidating. You know, someone coming in and looking at what they've taught and whether that's actually correct. So is there any advice that you can give, or have you come across this before? Have you had this sort of question? Well, I'm not qualified myself. How can I teach someone to do a qualification?
We do have some employers that are sort of a little bit nervous about letting, you know, an assessor essentially into your salon, into, you know, looking at your practice and the way that, you know, things might have been taught. But like I said before, it's not, they're not coming in to pick you apart. They're coming in to show your achievements, to show how well you and your apprentice have done. So it's not, I think if you're coming from it from a perspective of, you know, going to find what's wrong with your salon, then, you know, that's definitely intimidating. But we've not had any feedback from any of our employers that have had that experience, thankfully. It is definitely an overwhelmingly positive experience.
That's it.
Yeah, and the employer isn't just training them by themselves. We are also helping to support that training. It's a team effort. So when that assessor comes in, they're seeing everybody's work, not just, you know, making anybody feel like that.
And I think as an employer, you've got to take a bit of confidence from the fact that you're running a business and you've got your business to a busy point where you do require an apprentice, an extra pair of hands. So I think that pretty much tells you that you're doing an okay job. You're running your pet grooming salon well, and people keep wanting to come back. They like the haircuts you're providing, so you can pass that knowledge and that experience onto your apprentice.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, like you say, the customers will be your first sounding board. If the customers are back, then that's a different problem, isn't it? But if you've got repeat customers and repeat business and your business is thriving, there's a lot of confidence to be taken from that. You absolutely are in a position to share that knowledge and your skills with other people.
Yeah, awesome. And I do like some people shy away from employment because they're a bit fearful about employing people, and that's a topic for another day. But it's actually a really nice thing as well, imparting your knowledge and training someone else and giving them the opportunity and the skills that you're giving them opportunity and skills for life. They can take that, they can work with you, or they can take that away and set up their own business. But you're part of that journey, aren't you? It's really nice.
Absolutely part of that educational journey. I mean, on the day the EPA results come through, 99.99% of our employees are the first ones celebrating. They're the first ones going, "Yay, look what you did!" Because it's like I said, it's a team effort. It's the employees put a huge amount of work into training their apprentice and getting them to a point when they're doing really, really well. Yeah. And again, definitely a celebration. Our employers are often more excited than the apprentices themselves. We have very delighted employers, hugely supportive employers as well, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and hopefully these people will stay in your business to help you grow as well. And I think I saw something where an apprentice has actually gone on to win Junior Groomer Awards and stuff like that. So
yeah, she's done really, really well. She hasn't actually sat EPA yet. She's due to sit it, but yeah, she's doing really, really well. We're really proud of her.
Right, she got the award. Just straight fast track over the EPA. She won the award for the.
She might be able to show the EPA assessor a thing or two at this one.
That's it, potentially. So some people might be sitting here thinking, "Wow, this is a level 2 qualification." And actually, when I read the standards, I thought it's a lot to put into that qualification, and it really does sort of merge into level 3. Or what more is there to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said to you before, I think it can be being a level 2 can be a little bit misleading, really, because it does require a hell of a lot from our apprentices and from their employers, and and from us. The standard is really, really high. A lot of our apprentices that have already achieved their EPA have gone on to pretty much start in their own business straight away. Not everyone, obviously, but a lot of them have, because they've already had the skills and the training and the confidence to be able to do that. So yeah, no, it does require quite a lot and a wide range of skills as well, in order to be able to be successful at EPA.
Yeah, cool. So we've got a couple of questions coming in. Sarah's asked, what holiday and sickness entitlement does an apprentice get? So it's just like an employee, basically. So although they're an apprentice, you're hiring them as an employee as well. So the same contractual rights that any other employee gets, basically. And also, is there a particular time to enroll an apprentice? Do you have to wait for a particular month or season, or?
No, you can enroll at any time you like. So we operate on a roll-on, roll-off enrolment. So literally anytime. We're literally doing enrolments this morning as we speak. There's no set time, and as soon as all the documentation's signed and in place and the accounts have been set up, you're good to go. You go straight to induction. Okay,
well, let's talk about it. We touched a bit earlier, didn't we? But perhaps we didn't finish that. What other things do employers have to have in place when it comes to taking on an apprentice? I've written down risk assessment for their salon. That's an important part.
So you need a risk assessment for your salon, a copy of your liability certificate, your insurance certificate. You need to be able to show us ID for the apprentice, so photograph ID. That is deleted after the enrolment process. We don't keep personal information, but so driving license, passport, for example. You'd also need to have your PAYE set up. Now, we can support with that. We do support with that. So if you've never employed an apprentice before, or anyone before, you wouldn't have your PAYE in place. So you'd need your PAYE accounts reference number and your PAYE reference number in order to be able to set up your apprenticeship account. But that is essentially all the things that you would need to get going.
And don't be put off by the PAYE malarkey. It is a government process. And I think I spoke to someone the other day, it did take probably about 30 days or so to come through. And then the activation code came through, but they do get there eventually.
Yes, I mean, as with all these sorts of things, HMRC do not make it an easy process. It's not, it can definitely be frustrating at times, but it really is relatively straightforward to do. It's more just, it takes quite a while, but it's not difficult or challenging in any way.
No, and if you already employ their services on an accountant, then I'd be sticking it at their door to sort out for you. And then I would also be looking at employing the accountant to sort out your payroll as well, because it can get messy. I've tried it. It can get messy. Outsource as much as you can. But when we're talking about payroll and stuff, people might think, oh, can I do it if I'm a sole trader or a limited company? But it's open to both, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. So if you're a sole trader or a limited company, we have both. So we have apprentices from both sorts of companies. As long as you can employ somebody, you can absolutely hire an apprentice.
Yeah, awesome. So Sarah, so thank you for those clearing that up. There was something else that I was going to think of, but I couldn't quite remember it. But I might remember later. So, how can people get hold of more information from yourselves?
You can drop us an email. We have all of our social media pages. So there's Northern Education and Training, or NEAT. We're on Instagram and Facebook. You can drop us the message anywhere there. You can give us a call. You can email me on either admin at NEAT College or Kate at NEAT College, and that will come directly to me. You can give us a call. So yeah, so our number is, let me just check it now, I always forget it. It's 0151 792 6295. We are currently in the process of moving though, so that might not bleed through, but if it doesn't, definitely go through to the emails, or you can go onto our Google Docs form, which are all over our social media channels as well.
Awesome. And whilst you've been talking about that, I've remembered my last question was, because obviously you're busy, we won't keep you much longer, but how do people go about recruiting an apprentice?
Well, we can help and support with that. So we have been offering help and support with it, but basically it's about advertising in your local area, maybe contacting some of your local colleges, your local schools, and just, you can attend school open days if you obviously want the younger apprentice. You can attend things like the school open days. They often do careers fairs in your local schools that you can sign up and go along to, and explain about your salon and what you'd offer. You can also advertise on job sites like Indeed, or we can post on our government college account. We can post on our social media platforms as well. So there are a number of ways that you can sort of recruit apprentices to you.
Awesome. And the recruitment process is very much similar how you would recruit any person within your business. You're looking for, who they are, their values. You perhaps be looking to do an interview with them, and then maybe a working trial, and then perhaps put in a little probation period before you start getting them enrolling them onto the apprenticeship scheme, just to make sure they're the right fit.
Exactly that, yeah. So those things are exactly as you see fit as the business owner. So yeah, they're your choice, they're your apprentice, they're who you're going to spend every day with. So yeah, the word.
Okay, cool. So I'll tag you. Hopefully, you're in my Facebook group, and if you are, I'll tag you in it so you can pick up any comments or anything you want to talk about, and you can put in all the contact details in there as well. But hopefully we've given people a bit of an insight into bringing an apprentice into their business, and a little bit about how the level 2 dog grooming apprenticeship is about. So thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for stepping in. Excellent. We'll catch up soon.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.